Hello. You are listening to the MN Minnesota Pubcast. I'm Molly Burke, here with my co-host, Jason McGovern. Hi, Jason.
Hi. How you doing?
Good, how are you doing?
All right, so can you hear us? Let's get this out of the way. We do it at the beginning of every show. All right,
I have a problem. It's like this constant need to hear myself.
Well, one of the problems.
And I think you have it right now. I think you know exactly where to put me.
I'm gonna still leave that out there. Actually, just let that hang.
With the mic.
Okay,
God.
all right, better. What do you want to talk about tonight?
Okay, well, since we're the Minnesota Pubcast, I think we should start off on a Minnesota note.
Okay. Well, before we get to that, since Dubé decided to completely fuck up the whole schedule tonight and go Gopher instead of Wild Wednesday, I just have to throw out my little 2 cents on last night's game. Did you happen to see any of it?
No. I was kind of live tweet. What was I doing? I don't even remember what I was doing. I was working out.
Okay. But they don't have it on the gym or what?
It's like I go to this gym where it's like you have the trainer the whole time and you have to be in the zone.
Well, did you hear about the hit on Ballard? Or did you hear about anything that happened last night?
Yeah, a little bit. But it was crazy, which I'm really upset I missed it, actually.
It was a crazy game. And then I missed the end. But anyway, so it was a crazy game. It starts out, we're down 3-0. We're just absolutely getting their asses kicked.
Wild versus?
And it was the Islanders. Islanders in town, so home game. They were flat. They brought nothing to the table last night in the first period. We're even outshot. They're a team that never gets outshot this year. They were outshot the first period, down 3-0. It may have been, I think it was still 3-0 when the hit was put on Ballard. It was either that or 4-1. Late in the second period, you get it's one of those awkward hits where the most dangerous place to be on an ice arena or an ice rink when you're playing hockey is 4 feet away from the boards. 3 or 4 feet away from the boards is the most dangerous place to be. And of course that's where he is, and he gets hit awkwardly. He tries to turn away from it and actually basically puts himself in a position where the guy forearms his forehead into the part of the board that sticks out, the corner.
Yeah.
And he literally broke his face multiple places and was convulsing on the ice. Was knocked out immediately.
Oh my God, I missed
it. It was so bad looking. And first of all, I'm sitting at O'Gara's last night watching it. We're at Burger Most tonight, by the way. Throw that out there. I'm sitting at O'Gara's last night and I'm watching it on TV. And I'm sitting there going, can I get a replay? I don't know if I was on my phone or what. I think they only showed one. But I'm sitting there for 3 straight minutes watching a guy laying on the ice surrounded by people going, what the fuck happened? Can I see what happened? I'm tweeting, FSN North, you suck. What happened? Why aren't you showing what happened? Find out you had to actually go to the Madison Square Garden footage, the New York footage to get it. But
I'm pulling it up.
You don't want to see it. I mean, it's not bloody or anything. I mean, he did get cut, but it's not a bloody, horrible mess. But when you see him with the hands up and the kind of shaking on the ice and going into convulsions, it's gross.
This happened in the second period?
Yeah, this happened in the second period last night.
What goal did it happen by?
What do you mean?
Where in the ice?
This is at center ice, right in front of the Islanders bench.
Okay, so because my mom and my stepdad have season tickets, and my mom's very sensitive, but she's become a very big hockey fan thanks to my stepdad. And they're on row 12, right by where the Wild goal is, first and third period. So
okay.
I was I hope that she was spared from that because she's a very I don't think she would do well.
Well, and here's why.
I hope you're okay, Mom.
Here's why it's really interesting too. That whole place was messed up by it. They did. I don't think if they showed it on the replay board, they did it once because and I get if you're in the rink, you don't keep showing that, especially the guy's literally convulsing on the ice.
Right.
But I'm on TV. You're reporting something. I'm serious. You're reporting on a sporting event. You're supposed to give us knowledge. I need to know what happened. So A, I need to know how he got hurt, and I need to know B, should that be a penalty in my head as I'm watching? These are facts that I need, and they were not giving them to me. I was freaking out. But so what happens is it should have been boarding, but again he turned and kind of put himself in this position. So I get why it wasn't a penalty. And had it been a penalty, the Wild lose 5-2. Instead, it's not a penalty, and the Wild freak out, and they went into rage mode. Dude, Tom Powers talked about it today. I think Suhan mentioned it in his column today. that it was just they just got pissed and they turned it into something and came back and won 5-4. So it was an amazing game. It was an amazing comeback, and it was fueled by some passion and some rage. And I feel like Minnesota sports teams always lack those things.
Yeah,
so it was nice to see a team that could just come out there and fight their asses off and come back and win. And I will just for the record say I don't think it was as dirty as it looks or as it seems especially at game speed when you just kind of see how it looked really bad at the time. But you see it on replay. He put himself in a bad position. I don't blame the NHL for not coming down hard on the guy.
Sure, I'll watch it later.
Yeah,
dude,
anyway,
I love this
for those
team,
that haven't seen it, the Ballard hit YouTube it.
YouTube.
It's gross.
Minnesota Wild. I love this team. I think it's awesome.
And he really did shatter his face.
It's always fun, and he shattered his face. But good luck, Ballard. Feel better. Man, that sucks.
We will look forward to his return. But the guy's got a history of concussions too. So he's got another concussion now, a broken face. I mean, keep him out for as long as he needs to be.
Poor dude. All right, so I have another breaking news sports.
All right.
Oh man, I have so many pages open.
We finally cut Joe Mauer.
No. Oh.
I would cut Joe Mauer today.
No, the Wisconsin head coach just left and went to Oregon.
We're talking what?
University of Wisconsin.
No, what
football.
sport?
Football. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they did. I was
lost.
thinking they're still in it. No, yeah, okay. So Wisconsin lost, and he went to Oregon, huh?
I think so. I'm gonna check. I'm gonna double check right now. But we're getting all of our sports things in.
Yeah, and
he just
had pub talk, so this is sports are definitely pub related.
Gary Anderson goes to Oregon State. So
Oregon State. Now that's a big difference than Oregon. I was wondering
true.
Why would Oregon need a new coach?
Right. Oh yeah, that's true. Oregon does not need a new coach.
No,
Oregon is the number one school in the country.
No,
he's probably just embarrassed. He probably got out of there. I hate the Badgers.
And after that loss to Ohio State, I would want to get the hell out of there too.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like that wasn't even fun.
No, it was as a Minnesota fan.
Oh yeah,
it's always fun to watch a Wisconsin team get just blown to bits. But
I love it.
We don't see it enough here.
Great segue into
back
the
to
Minnesota
the
identity. Minnesota identity. So there's been this whole push lately on Minnesota not really being the Midwest per se. I'm looking this up on my phone as we speak.
Now, you had heard talk of this before this article that we saw today?
Yeah, I think there's just this kind of overall sense that people don't really get what we're all about here. Like, there was what we call Grapegate, which we talked about a few episodes ago.
Grapegate, yes.
Around Thanksgiving. New York Times completely got, like, a dish wrong that we don't make, and nobody knows what it is. And I just think there's an overwhelming sense of, like, we're a flyover state and where there's nothing really here, and we're just kind of looped, like, meshed in with the rest of the Midwest.
Yeah, we're just the cornfields. We're part of the cornfields.
And so there's this whole push from, strangely enough, the Dayton brothers, like, whatever, dudes, go do your thing. I don't know. I hate
the source. The source of this does make me think differently about it. I almost wish they had, if you could have, like, sent me the story with the names blacked out like it was a CIA document or something, that would have helped. That would have definitely helped in my perspective of this.
They started with a simple idea. So if you don't know, if you're not from Minnesota, or if you are from Minnesota, you don't know, Dayton brothers are obviously the sons of Mark Dayton. They own a very good restaurant, a very good bar in downtown Minneapolis, as well as a men's clothing shop. And so I think they have a lot of influence on the area. They're like connected young men. And I kind of agree with them. So what they want to do is, instead of calling us the Midwest, they want to call us the North. So they've hashtagged We Are North. They've started selling hats that you can, those kind of hipster winter hats with the balls on the top that you can, it says We Are North or something like that. But I mean, does this bother you as much as it bothers me? Not the North thing, but the fact that people group us in with the rest of the Midwest.
Okay. This topic was it. It's funny how life works, but this worked out so perfectly today. Because when I first read it, I was with you, and I was going, no, Minnesota is not Nebraska. Minnesota is not Iowa. Minnesota is not South Dakota, North Dakota, or Wisconsin. We are a very different place.
Where are we closest to? Probably are we most like Wisconsin?
Yeah, but Wisconsin doesn't have a Minneapolis or St. Paul. They have no city you can compare to those two.
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee's a great city, but I compare Milwaukee to Duluth.
Sure.
Milwaukee's a heavier populated Duluth, and it's even the style of it, the reason it was put there, everything about it.
Right.
I think they're founded 30 years apart, 20 years apart. There's no state in the 5-state region that's anywhere like us when it comes to culture, to the big city feel that you do get in Minneapolis, and that even to a certain extent in St. Paul. So when I was reading that, I was saying absolutely. I'm so sick of being flyover country, and I think that we're cosmopolitan here. We are advanced. We're
hip.
We're educated. We're hip. We're all that. We're all that, right? All right.
Oh my God, just by saying hip.
I kind of hate myself a little, but
that I just.
You made yourself less hip just by
hip.
saying that. Yes, correct. But so we're sitting here at Bergamo's. We're down on West 7th Street. We're in St. Paul. We're in one of the biggest cities in America. And I mean, really,
biggest metro areas.
Metro. If you put them together, yeah,
sure.
But still. But I mean, still. So we're sitting here, and we're in a major city, and I'm sitting literally at this table doing show prep, and this jukebox that's right behind me starts blaring a bunch of country, and I'm like, who the fuck? And you can tell when you're here, if the volume goes up, that means somebody paid to play it.
Sure.
So and it went up. So I'm like, okay, somebody chose to hear this shit. What the hell am I listening to? And I look over and you see a bunch of guys wearing neon sitting at the bar. All right, construction guys or something like that, right? So my first thought was, yes, within the city limits, we are an advanced state. We are different. We can compare to the East Coast, West Coast, Chicago. We can compare with the big boys. If you go a block outside of the cities, you are in straight fucking Hickville. And you will find the guys playing the country in the suburban bars.
Are we including the metro area as in,
I am
the most
including
recent suburbs?
All of the suburbs inside the ring even. Yes.
3 million people, by the way, if you don't know, there's 3 million people within the Minneapolis, St. Paul, and all the suburbs, but they're very close together. You can get from one side of town to another in about an hour and a half.
Right. So that includes that whole 3 million population.
Yep.
I think that, I live in South St. Paul, technically. I'm on the border of South St. Paul, Inver Grove, and West St. Paul.
Sure.
It's light years from any bar in St. Paul if you go to a bar there. There's a bar basically right next to my house that I go to that's just kind of my, where I go to watch Wild games and whatnot, and just to be at the bar and have a beer. The clientele, the attitude of even the servers is different.
Yeah.
You get a different feel when you're in the city than you do in the suburbs.
Absolutely.
And it's a better thing. The only reason I live in South St. Paul right now is because it's just cheaper. I live with my sister and my nephew, and we need 3 bedrooms. To have a 3-bedroom apartment in a nice spot on Selby or something is going to cost a hell of a lot more than it's going to in the burbs. But I do not live there for the ambiance or the people or any of that stuff. I prefer the city. So
that is true. There is this very strange, I'm like, no, you got to come to visit Minneapolis. And I tell all my friends from out of state, come visit. And we do. We have a really awesome theater culture. We have an awesome arts culture where we are, when you're in Minneapolis, downtown St. Paul, more Minneapolis, it feels like Portland. It feels like Seattle. It feels like kind of those other up-and-coming places. And then you step outside, and I don't know if this is true for other major cities, but you do get really hick. And people love country music. It's so weird.
It scares me.
It's like people from my hometown, which is only 25 minutes outside downtown St. Paul from where we're sitting right now. People love country music. And they have 4-wheelers and snowmobiles, which is totally fine.
And I love toys, yeah.
Totally fine. It's just, you're right. There is this kind of weirdness between the very highly educated fit into arts, into culture, slightly hipster, I would say, which is very kind of mainstream persona in Minneapolis, to there's a big part that's hunters, fishers.
I was just going to say camo.
Camo.
You get a block outside the city and people are wearing camo.
But then if you kind of loop it all back in together, this whole "We Are North" message fits with both of these cultures, right? It fits with we are Minnesota, we are up north, we are hunters, we are fishers, we're lumberjacks, right? That's our roots, are lumberjacks and Vikings. Yeah. And then it also kind of incorporates this hipster, we're the northern cool city. I'm kind of into it, and I'm going to keep pushing it. But I'm going to keep pushing it.
Don't you think that everyone outside of the cities here would completely fit in Nebraska, North Dakota, South Dakota, Wisconsin, Iowa?
I don't. Yeah, I guess. I don't.
So that's why I've
only spent a lot of time in Iowa.
The We Are North thing, I haven't either.
I've only spent a lot of time in Iowa.
You only have? Oh, okay.
Because
that's the only one I haven't really done. Oh, yeah, that's true. And I have very little to do with Iowa. But I'm pretty sure the preconceived notions I have are pretty correct.
Yeah, they're all, Iowans are just, down-to-earth, really nice people,
Now, are they really nice, or are they passive-aggressive Minnesota nice like we are?
They're nice people. It was really interesting. I had people from Chicago and the Chicago suburbs at my school, and then I had people from Iowa, and they were two very different groups of people. Not saying we were all friends, but two very different groups of people. Like, when they say corn-fed, homegrown Iowa boys, like, that's very true. Totally true.
And so
oh my God, listen to what's playing.
Wow, we got the country going again. Somebody throw a dollar in that thing, please.
Oh,
Anyone?
God.
Anyone? It actually, you know what? As much as I love to rag on the suburbs and all that stuff too, I guarantee you I'd have fun at what's the country?
Toby Keith's?
But no, what's the country festival that everybody goes to?
Oh, Wee Fest.
Wee Fest.
Yeah.
I guarantee you I'd have a great time there. But now, is that because I still have part of that Minnesota hick in me?
I don't know.
Or what? I don't know what that is.
I don't know. I get on my boat on the summertime. The boat. I get on my boat.
On the boat. We go on the water.
And I sometimes turn on country music. I don't know. It's pretty weird.
See, I don't know if we do qualify for this difference, this image change that we're trying to push here. I don't know. I don't know if we can do it.
I feel like we're different. I feel different from Nebraska. I feel different from Iowa. It's just we're us here. We're very us, and I think I could more easily group Iowans and Nebraskans together.
But you do agree, though, we have to be within city limits for that difference to exist, right?
Sure, but then there's a whole different culture up north of camping, hunting, fishing, up in like near Ely and Brainerd, and Duluth is like its very own special place where people grow up and live there, and they're Duluthians or whatever they are.
Duluth still has a bit of a city culture though, and it's partially because it has the college there. I think so you get the liberal kids basically. That I think helps, that makes it more of a city feel. But because I don't think you can put Duluth and Ely in the Iron Range together. And Duluth is its own. Duluth fits in more with Minneapolis-St. Paul, I think, than it does with
the
it's
just kind of like an offshoot.
Part of Minnesota.
It's like where we would go on the weekend or something. I don't know.
Exactly. That's it. It's an escape, but it's still got enough of what we have here to where we don't feel like we're completely, in a foreign land.
Sure. Yeah. I don't know. I guess there's just this very more distinctive cultures in Minnesota than there is, I would say, in Iowa or Nebraska. It's very, politically, Iowa differs from the very west. It's very, very, very conservative, and out to the east, it's, much more liberal. But in terms of like cultures, like up north, we have the up north culture here, and then we have the city culture here, and then we have some of the farming culture. There's more diversity in Minnesota, but I think we're all very passionate about being Minnesotan.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's a good thing either.
I don't know. I'm like so proud of where I'm from. I'm such a Minnesota freak.
See,
I want to move at some point, but I'm still a freak about it. I'm like, ugh.
See, and I'm proud of where we're from too. And part of that article brought up too, where we're kind of not known for anything. I mean, ask people what they know about Minnesota, and they say Prince and like one other thing. I don't remember what the other thing was.
Cold.
Right.
Cold. I get cold.
There's definitely an East Coast identity. I mean, there is such a different vibe out there. It's fast-paced. I don't give a shit what you got going on. I've got my business. Get out of my way. And then you go out to the West Coast, and it's the complete opposite. It's a chill, and it's hey, brah, and it's very let's just party, and everybody's very welcoming. And then in Minnesota, I think in the Twin Cities, we have this. What's very much us is we're full of shit. We put on this front that we're very nice, but we actually live in a place where the weather's cold 6 months out of the year. We're all pissed off constantly, and it's a front. We act like we're nice, but we're not. And I think that it's. Oh, you're out of your mind. You're drinking the Kool-Aid.
We're all passive. We're all passive
aggressive though. We're not just passive. We're passive aggressive, which I think is worse.
I know.
I think that I would rather. An East Coaster is going to tell you right to your face whether you're a moron or not, or whether like whatever you're listening to sucks. Or in Minnesota we go, oh, what you listen to? Oh, that's great. And then we turn around and go, God, what a fucking idiot. Like there's there was a bartender that I'll never forget. The GM at the Ruby Tuesday I used to work at would tell me that he would be talking to the customer and literally turn around to her a foot away from the customer and just talk shit.
Oh my God.
And that's I think so Minnesotan, but we do have culture here too. We do. I mean, we have we are the home of Atmosphere. Atmosphere is a huge hip-hop group that is known worldwide.
That's what you're giving us, Atmosphere?
I'm saying that we are known for things that are cultural that other than Prince. I mean, the hip-hop community here, in the years when hip-hop was cool, was awesome. Like, the battle raps and all that kind of stuff, the shows that we had around here, you couldn't beat it. And the talent level, it was a smaller amount of people, so that makes it a little different. But the talent level could compete with East and West Coast. I mean, it was something that we were legit here, and I think in a lot of ways we are, and that's where I don't think there's a lot of guys that can say this in Nebraska or can say this in South Dakota. So I think that this up north, or we are north, or whatever they want to call it, I agree. And I don't think we are the Midwest. I think Midwest is such an antiquated term, since the only reason that ever made sense was when everything was on the East Coast and this was West. I mean, now we're middle. Like, how are we at all Midwest?
Sure.
So I do agree with the Daytons, and wow, that's hard for me to say, but I agree with the Daytons in that we do need a bit of an image.
You don't have to agree with Governor Dayton. You're agreeing with,
anybody with his last name. I'm worried about. But no, I just think that they're right, that you do need to start marketing us a little differently, and that you do need to show that we're not just flyover country like the rest of the Midwest.
Here. We got to get
people in
here.
Businesses, but Dayton's, there's tax structure has something to do with that too. So if you guys want to push that part too. Anyway.
God. Oh my God.
Well, okay. No. Hey, you ask any CEO what's the biggest reason to move to a company to a state, they're going to tell you the taxes. I mean, money is always the bottom line of any company.
Sure, we're doing all right. We got a lot of good companies here. We're doing all right.
No, we have our share.
And our unemployment rate is below 4%. By the way, it's 3.8%, which is so much better than the national average, which is sitting 2%
people that
more.
Quit looking for work. Okay. Unemployment numbers are so bullshit.
We're moving on. It's not bullshit, man. It's not bullshit.
When you stop counting people that are unemployed but stop looking for work, that's still unemployed.
Shut up.
I want to talk about this thing about cereal today.
Okay.
I want you to give the cereal podcast for those that haven't, and I still haven't listened because I've been frankly too busy. But I want to listen to the show, but I want to hear what you have to say, and then I want to bring this into finales in general, kind of, because, and I don't know, this may be a first. I've never really heard of a podcast finale. Because that's basically what we're talking about right here, and this is where this is going, and then you take it from there. Okay,
so Serial is wrapping up pretty quickly here. I think it has a few more episodes. We're on episode 10 right now, and if you've been listening to it, or if you haven't been, it follows, each episode is a new part of the story revolving around a murder of a teenage girl back in the 90s, and her ex-boyfriend was ultimately convicted and is serving a life sentence. So, super interesting podcast that does some very in-depth reporting, basically interviews just about everyone that was involved and kind of retraces the steps and retraces what the jury decided on and everything like that. So, pretty soon I think this guy actually may have an appeal because of this podcast. But the podcast, therefore, because nothing's come out yet, he hasn't won his appeal or anything, the podcast may end with no actual conclusion. It may kind of let you decide if you think he's innocent or if he's guilty. And I thought it was super interesting that NPR came out with this recent article regarding what's called need for cognitive closure, or NFC. And if you have a high NFC, means that you need to have something end for you. And if you don't have something end for you, you immediately come to a conclusion yourself because you can't handle the fact that something could be open-ended. If you have below NFC, you can let things kind of lie and just be like, well, who knows? I don't know. And so it brings up an interesting point about kind of all the different ways TV shows could end. Mm-hmm. And how people react to those different endings from a psychological perspective. And I'm trying to figure out still if I'm going to be really pissed if Serial ends and if I don't find out if Adnan's guilty or not guilty, or if he's going to live his life, and I don't know. So, but I don't think I'm going to be pissed.
Did you watch The Sopranos?
I watched the last season, so I know how it ends. Just shut up.
I honestly no.
There's too many
all
good
I got
shows
from that,
out
I'm not
there.
even angry. I'm extremely sad for you.
Okay, you know what though? It's still on HBO. I still have HBO. And when it came out, can I just say, when it came out, I was in high school. So if I watched it back then, it probably was even before I was in high school. If I watched it back then, I wouldn't have appreciated it like I'm going to now when I start watching it in 2 weeks before you murder me.
I suppose. No, I watched every episode live. I mean, we would get together with friends every Sunday night, and I mean.
How old were you? Were you in high school?
When it ended, I was probably 24.
Okay.
25. So yeah, I was like probably 17
So
when it started, something like that.
School,
so yeah, you were younger. But when I saw this story, the first thing I thought of was Sopranos ending, and because I am one of those people, I need closure.
Oh, were you so pissed?
Well, okay. I wish my ex-girlfriend was here so badly. This
That's
is
a statement you hear every day.
no shit, right? But when we would fight, she, and I don't know if this is a girl-guy thing or if this was just a her-me thing, but she would be like, I'm just done with this. I just can't. I just want to go home, or I just want to go to bed, or whatever. I'm just done. I'm done. And I would have to be, no, we're fucking talking about this until, and I wouldn't say this, but I guarantee what it was until I'm happy with us having an ending to this. Like, until I'm satisfied that there's a conclusion, we're fighting this out. And I think I look at my TV the same way. I don't care if the ending sucks. I would rather have an ending than have a mystery or have to figure it out in my own head.
Okay.
As much as I can understand that there's an artistic value to it, do your fucking job. You wrote the show, write the rest of the show.
Okay, I guess I completely agree with you on that relationship front, though, is that I can't handle when there's an open-endedness to something.
Nope.
I do not do well with that when people are like, just go with the flow. We are what we are. It's like, no, dude, we're figuring this out. Like, black or it's white. Like, there's no in-between for me.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know why this is, like, striking me different for cereal. No, I guess I do. I do want to know.
Well, it's entertainment. It's different.
I do want to know.
It's not as important in your life. But to me,
I've gotten really attached to this
and
podcast,
that was the other part I want to talk about was how these TV shows, I mean, especially like you look at The Sopranos and The Sons of Anarchy, which just ended last night.
That ended.
Yes, it's a part of your life for years and years and years. And so that's what I mean. I think that the writers owe us something. And as stupid as that is, and I know that that's stupid, but they do. I devoted how many hours of my life, how many weeks, how many years, how many months, how many years, and you're just gonna with The Sopranos just go, that's it.
We can give
Figure
the spoiler alert. We can give the spoiler that Sopranos just ends on a blank screen.
I have no apologies for someone like you who has not seen The Sopranos yet. If you don't know that fades to black, too bad.
I've seen it, they're all just sitting there and at dinner. I don't know. I mean, did you go into like a deep anger, depressed state?
I think I did. I mean, I don't let any of this stuff get to me for too long because, I mean, I'm always pissed off about something else. But it's stuck with me for a while. Yeah, because you know what I was more mad about? And this is the thing with the ex-girlfriend, too. I was more mad that people were okay with it. Like, it didn't piss me off as much that they ended it the way they did. It pissed me off that people were like, oh, what a great ending. No, fuck you. They didn't do anything. They didn't end anything. They said, we don't know what to do with this, so you do it. That's lazy. But people loved it, and that bothered me. I mean, I've had a...
no matter what people are going to get... But people loved it? I thought people got pissed.
Oh, no, there's people out there that... I think that I'm in the majority, but I say it's 65-35 tops. Like, it may be more like 60-40. Like, I think there are people that went, wow, what a cool way of doing it. Like, oh, they didn't have to put a bow on everything. Which, okay, so now let's... I'm going to... Well, we'll do this the right way, I hope. But have you seen Breaking Bad?
Yes. Okay, but let's do this as a quiz. For those of you who are listening, write on our... Either tweet at us, MN Pubcast, or go on our Facebook at MN Pubcast, and let us know if you saw The Sopranos, if you hated the ending, or if you loved the ending, and why.
Yes, I would love to get a little poll on that.
That's our first test for our poll, to connect our listeners to our social media.
Yes, within the show. Well done.
Thank you.
Done.
Thank
God,
you.
This is your first time ever doing this?
I'm in marketing.
Shoot, I don't even know where I was going to go with that now.
We were going to go to Breaking Bad.
Oh, yeah, Breaking Bad. Okay, so now I'm not going to tell everybody how it ends because that one is more recent and everyone should watch that as well.
Let's say we're going to do a spoiler alert. If you don't want to hear it, just turn off your podcast for a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
Because it's been long. It's been a long enough time.
Fast forward a few minutes, and if you hear a couple more seconds about Breaking Bad, fast forward another minute, and then you'll get there.
Sure.
Okay. Breaking Bad pissed a lot of people off for the exact opposite reason that The Sopranos did, because it was too clean for a lot of people.
Sure.
It was everything ended. It was all was fixed, or not fixed, but there was a bow put on it. It was everything was done, and as a fan of the show, I first of all liked it. I think, and here's what's funny is I think The Sopranos made me like it in a way, because at least they didn't leave it open-ended.
Sure.
So I'm like, oh well, it fucked up like Sopranos, so I like that. But it was what else are you gonna do? Like, I don't have a better idea of how to do it, so you have to end it somehow. As long as it's not ridiculous, I'm okay with that. Like, you have to end it.
It wasn't as like epic as I wanted it to be. Like, I knew he kind of had to die, right? Like, there's no other way around it.
Right.
And they kind of ended it where he was dead, but like we didn't really see like his funeral.
Right.
So you never know,
Leave
right?
it a tiny bit open-ended.
Right.
You don't see exactly
bit.
what happened to Jesse. I mean, Jesse just kind of disappears into the sunset in a way, but
right.
You still know what happened.
You still, I mean, pretty much you know that Walter's dead and whatever.
Right.
It just wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't as like. I love the ending. I love the show. That's one of my favorite shows of all time. But you're right. It was a little like expected. Like, I was like, well, yeah, he kind of has to die. Like, he's got on this huge journey, and he's turned completely almost evil, right?
Right.
I mean, you end up kind of hating him at the
Right.
end. And there was really no other way for him to go out.
A buddy of mine said they could have ended it like 2 or 3 episodes earlier,
Yeah.
when he disappeared and went to Vermont or whatever. Just
Yeah.
that's it.
Wow.
And let it. But to me, I think you're going a little Sopranos there, where
Yeah.
you're going, no. I want 2 more episodes to clean it up. Like, I do get it.
And he always finished what he started, too.
Exactly, too. And that was the other part, too, was that it fit the show. And a lot of
Right.
people like to say that the Sopranos thing fit the show. I don't really necessarily agree with that. But with the Breaking Bad thing, Breaking Bad always had this happened, and here it was resolved. This happened, here's how it was resolved.
Right.
You can't have 5 years of that and then go, no resolution.
Right.
You just can't. You can't go down that road. Now, with Sopranos, I mean, the whole thing about The Sopranos was kind of gray area. I mean, for instance, the protagonist is a fucking mob boss. Like,
Right.
he's a don, and we're all cheering for him. Like,
Right.
so the whole premise is kind of false. But so is Breaking Bad. Like, you're rooting for the science teacher who's had this bad luck, and now you're going, holy shit, he's the worst human being to ever live. But I'm still following him and still can't wait to see what happens. So you have this disgusting part inside of you that you almost need the finale to make you feel better. Like, I needed, you know what? That was it. Holy shit. I needed to see Tony Soprano get his brains blown out for my good.
That's what I wanted, like, and with that and Breaking Bad, too, I got to rewatch the last episode, but I remember being like, man, I wanted that to be like a fucking Scarface death, right? Like a badass Scarface death. And
Say
it
hello
wasn't.
to my little friend.
He was, like,
Yeah.
lying on the ground by himself, right? Right? I mean, that's kind of how it ended.
Yeah.
And I wanted, like,
Yeah.
some, like all the other people that have died on that show, like Gus, the dude Gus killed, all of the guys down in Mexico, they had the most badass deaths ever. And
Yeah.
Walter's death, like, it should have been the most epic thing, and I was just like, oh, well.
But at least you got closure.
Right.
At least you got closure.
Okay, all right. So now I know that I'm high NFC.
So
I have a high need
yes,
for cognitive
we both
closure.
have that. Have you seen Sons of Anarchy?
No.
Are you
I don't-
going to?
No, I'm not interested.
Okay. Why? Just quickly.
I don't know. The show premise just doesn't appeal to me.
Okay, because I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's that libertarian in me. The whole I love the idea of the outlaw, but
Yeah.
that you have like your own rules and kind of like your own society in a way.
Sure.
Like, that's a cool idea to me. Like, I love the idea of anarchy. Like, to actually, like, to really, if we just destroy the government and try, I don't think it would actually work, but it's such a cool idea.
Oh,
Like,
I'm totally
it's
not
so
into that.
beautiful to me, like, But so that's what, to me, the Sons of Anarchy show is. It's this microcosm of something that I know could never actually work, but it's beautiful to see it tried.
Okay.
And so the show is great, and the first 4 years are awesome, and then you have a couple years where you're like, what are you guys doing? What are you guys doing? And then you have this season. And again, spoiler alert, if you don't want to know about this one, give me 2 more minutes on this, and then we'll switch away from this
2
TV.
more
but-
minutes.
2 more minutes. But Sons of Anarchy did it right. They ended it, and they ended it the only way you probably could, and it was. If anything, you can maybe say this one was too cute.
Aww.
For those that
Sons of Anarchy got cute, huh?
A little. I feel like I'm speaking to those right now who have seen the show, so we're all on the same page. What happens is, like, the whole premise of this show is based on Jax Teller. He's the son of a guy who was the president of the motorcycle club, and the dad died.
Yeah, you already lost me.
Well, but just give me a second.
I'm eating ice, sorry.
The dad died, and he left these journals and memoirs basically saying how the club was a bad idea, and the more they got into guns and crime, it was going to be worse and worse. And the whole fucking 7 years is Jax realizing that, and then he just turns into his dad and kills himself.
Oh,
and that's the show.
Okay.
So it was...
It's like a circular story.
And they could have done it years earlier.
Yeah.
Like, the last 2 seasons were unnecessary. They didn't need to do it. But at least they did it. Like, at least they've wrapped it up, and they did it in a way where you could say it was predictable, but it wasn't annoying. Like,
sure.
It wasn't too cute, but it was at least they gave me that closure. And as we're saying here, that I have to have closure.
Sure. If you want closure, best show closure of all time, you know which one I'm going to say? It's an HBO show. 6 Feet Under. Best
the one I've never
show
seen.
ending
the one
ever.
I've never seen.
You got to start watching it. It's just like...
Is it still watchable today? Like,
yes.
Is there any way that it's going to seem dated to me?
No, I don't think so. I think it's still... It's very, like, philosophical and almost like it has, like, many kind of dreamlike stages where there's not a lot that has to be... There's not, like, a lot about, like, technology, or you know what I mean? Where,
sure.
Or
cell
things,
phones and that stuff.
You know, it's just a very deep, fucked up show about fucked up people. Sorry to say that so many times, but it is. It's just a dark show, and I think that kind of, you know, it keeps working. I highly suggest it.
I will check that one out.
And it has a really epic final scene.
See, and I feel that these guys if you can write 7 years of Sons of Anarchy, why can't you write the greatest finale of all time? And that's with Breaking Bad and all of it. Like, and again, with Breaking Bad, it worked, but it wasn't. I did want a little more. I always do, but I never want more to be.
Problem with a show ending, you always want.
But I don't want more show. I want more out of the little show that I got. But if you're going to give me the option between The Sopranos and all these other ones we've been talking about, I'll take all the other ones every single time. Why don't we take a quick little break, and we'll be right back to discuss more on the Minnesota Pubcast.
I came to tell you, something is coming.
Exodus, Gods and Kings is getting poor reviews. The big-budget biblical reboot about the story of Moses is directed by Gladiator's Ridley Scott. Christian Bale plays Moses, and he had one main commandment for doing this project.
No matter how many films you've done, it never stops being so much bloody fun, riding on a horse, slashing through people, having some fights, you know? I mean, that's straight back to being 8 years old.
Comedian Chris Rock's movies typically get poor reviews, but his new movie, Top 5, is getting the best reviews of his Hollywood career.
Do you think the wedding is hurting me? Listen, Andre, the wedding is the best thing that you got going right now. If this thing flops, we could be talking Dancing with the Stars. Man. Dancing with the Stars? That's where you're at right now.
Chris not only stars, he directed and wrote the film, and rewrote the film, and rewrote the film.
Dude, who knows, 100 drafts? I mean, even when you're editing, it's kind of rewriting.
Exodus, Gods and Kings, and Chris Rock's Top 5 are at theaters around town this weekend.
Hi, we're back.
Hello, more TV.
One of these days, we're going to get it figured out where we have bumper music and all of this stuff. Right here and on the Jeff Dubé Show, but till now, I've been too lazy to figure that out. So anyway, you know, the whole point of bumper music is actually for a network anyway. So bumper music, when we're just us and it's just a podcast, is absolutely unnecessary, other than for the ear, how it is on the ear.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, so I was talking to myself there. Anyway, and for any of you radio geeks out there that understood what I was talking about.
You're the producer.
Shut up. What do we got now? Rape. Let's talk rape.
Oh my
What a
God.
great topic.
It always just gets a little uncomfortable when we go there.
Well, I would hope so. If this isn't uncomfortable, one of us has some issues.
But it goes in line with the TV we're just talking about. So we're going to the Newsroom by Aaron Sorkin. Oh, wow. We got a
Yeah,
We got a full band.
The old dead pigeons are in full effect. Now you know why we were doing the show on that side of the wall. Although I bet you actually to the listener right now that's not that distracting. It's just background noise. But for us, it's a little loud.
Yeah, it's all right though. The Newsroom, controversial show by Aaron Sorkin. You all know that I'm a huge Aaron Sorkin fan if you've been listening because I love The West Wing. But he had kind of a screw up this week.
Ooh, so you're for sure calling it a screw up?
Oh well, I guess according to most public thought. You had a hard time sitting down your beer.
Well, I think he made that more difficult as difficult as he could.
He just wanted to get on the air.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, based on public kind of outcry, I think most people have thought that it was a mistake.
Well, from the little, and I didn't read too much because I actually just want to get your take on it and then react. But to me, it seems like the women are saying that this is a horrible idea, and I don't know if men are necessarily on the same page. And I'll explain why once you kind of explain the scenario.
Oh, I'm explaining the scenario?
Yeah, and this one I definitely want you to because I think, you're going to have a stronger reaction to it, almost just because you're a female,
well,
and the way this works.
Well,
I have the story here if you want to...
this isn't helpful. I don't even watch this damn show, but whatever.
Have you ever? Because I watched the first season.
Is it good?
I think I just said I watched, which I don't
watched
know what
the first season.
If that was an accent or just the wrong word, but no, I watched the first season. It was good. It lost me though. Like I couldn't hold my attention.
I just I don't have time to watch all these stupid shows. I'm in the middle of I'm still back in 1990 something. I'm watching The Wire right now.
Listen
and
here,
West
damn
Wing.
it! You make time for good television.
Well, The Wire is like it's like a full-time job.
The Wire is the greatest television series probably of all time,
okay,
other than
well,
Breaking Bad. So
I'm almost to season 3, so we can talk about that another time.
Absolutely.
I've been peer pressured, and I've been happily peer pressured. I'm really glad I'm watching it because it's fucking awesome.
Yep.
Okay, so anyway, if you guys have heard about this recent Rolling Stone article coming out, they did this huge thing about the University of Virginia student who alleged that she was raped in fraternity. Now they're kind of backtracking and saying we screwed up. We didn't really have all the facts, and we didn't really give the guys, the coverage that they deserved and the interview that they deserved. So it's kind of on the heels of that. In examining issues about the inability or unwillingness of the legal system to respond adequately to rape victims, as well as how journalism ethics parallel the legal system, Mr. Sorkin presented an argument that some critics found disparaged the credibility of rape victims. So in the episode, Don Kiefer, a television news producer, was ordered to find a college student who had started a website designed to allow women to anonymously name the men who raped them. He was told to persuade her to go on live television to confront one of the men. He found the women who argued passionately the legal system had failed her and in so many other rape victims. Don told her that he found her credible and found the accused sketchy, but he could still not square the idea of naming men accused of rape with his sense of fairness, which he tied to the American judicial system. So essentially they were saying... And
he said basically they have to be charged with a crime before he'd want to put it in print or something.
Before he wanted her to go on and start naming these people. And is that something that should be a practice in the media today? Should women be able to come out and just start flying accusations around to protect their, kind of disseminating the fear that comes along with being a rape victim? Or should we also be much more conscious of the men who are being accused? And this is a issue that I still really struggle with every day, because I know people. I won't go into any more detail on that. I know people who have multiple women who have been too afraid, or for various reasons based on social pressures, have not come forward in light of their own sexual assault or rape. And the biggest thing is they're not getting the help that they need, and possibly that person could go do it again. So my immediate reaction is to say yes. Like, I think women who have been raped should immediately be able to come out and say who did it and accuse them. But then at the same time, that also, if it can ruin a man's life. It can ruin if something happened where it was not true. It can ruin a man's life. But the other thing is, the women who have false accusations are heavily outnumbered by the women who are not lying, and that's kind of where I put my argument. So
well, and you stole a little thunder. I don't want to have a lot of thunder on this topic to begin with, but
it's good to hear. I mean, because it like I said, it can ruin a life.
And that's what I was going to say. Okay, I think that this is an issue that is looked at completely differently by women and men, because if you talk about a guy getting raped, the way we just automatically put that in our head is so different than a woman. I mean, you'll hear guys joke about all the time, like, oh, I wish I would have been raped by that
right.
teacher when I was 13. She's
right.
hot as hell. Like,
right.
it's just the mentality of it is, oh, you were raped by a gal? That must have been really bad. Like, it's almost a joke to men when you talk about a man being raped.
Right.
Then you talk about a woman being raped, and I can't think of anything that would be more disturbing,
right.
for lack of a better term, because it's physical, it's emotional, it's your whole world is turned upside down.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that feeling in any way, shape, or form.
Right. There's a much different power dynamic, which is why a lot of rapes of women against men happen when the men are much younger.
Yes, because that's the only way they're really overpowered, and it's a mental thing too, where they're not ready for it mentally at that point.
Absolutely.
So my first reaction when I saw this was that, well, you got to be careful here, because yes, the second unless you're Bill Cosby, the second rape gets thrown out there, you are a pariah. I mean, you're finished. In general.
Sure.
Bill Clinton made it too, but in general, if you are even accused of rape, that is the end of your career. It's the end of your political career. That's the end of your whatever it is you're trying to do. You're done. And for me, as a guy, I would like to think I would never put myself in a situation where I could ever be accused of that, but I also would want to have some kind of safeguard where that can't just be thrown around.
Right.
That is a term that can never just be thrown around.
Right.
So it's hard for me. Like, I don't know what to necessarily think about this, but it's hard for me to get mad at Sorkin. In fact, I think that even just the way he did this might have been a really, really clever way, in that it brings up a dialogue.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, if you just do it the typical way, where it would just be like, well, of course it's got to be mentioned right away, and fuck the guys, and we got to protect women. Like, well, that's easy. Right. That's a very easy way of looking at it. But to go, maybe it's a little more nuanced than that. Maybe there actually is two sides to this, and there kind of isn't, but there kind of is. I think it's got to be talked about. I think that it's not black and white.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you're completely right. Just the thing I keep going back to is that most these women aren't lying. You know, it's just been found that when rape victims come forward, they usually aren't lying. There's usually not a good reason to lie. You know, you just hope that you're not dealing with like the one crazy woman out there that wants to get back at somebody.
But I can think of a lot of reasons to lie about that. And they are power and money. I mean, if you are talking about a powerful man, what's the worst thing you could say about him? So if you want to destroy someone, and again, this is I don't know if there's many other accusations out there where, I mean, child molester would probably be the other, where just the fact that it was even attached to you at one point in time in a news clip or whatever, that's it. Like, there is no coming back from it. You can accuse somebody of murder, and they have a better chance of reclaiming their identity than if you call them a rapist or a child molester.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's like, then how do we find this balance between giving women like the strength to be able to come forward and say what happened to them? You know, then that's why it's like you hope that it happens quickly, because the first step that you're supposed to do, quote unquote, if you're raped, is go to the hospital, right?
Yes.
Get a swab, get a whole test done. And then
there's literally a rape kit, right? I mean,
there's a rape kit, exactly, and have that done. And then it's up to you as a woman if you want to press charges or not. But and a lot of women, that's not their first response. They don't want to press charges right away. It's like this, you know, you're still completely processing this horrible thing that just happened to you, and there's probably a lot of like, there's still that ingrained, wasn't my fault, what was I doing, I should have been more careful, was I drinking too much?
Especially when it comes to date rape.
Yes.
Date rape, I would bet 20%, maybe that might be high, 20% probably of date rape cases are reported. That would just be a guess.
Sure. And yeah, I mean, I'm
and it's mostly because of what you're saying
low.
too, or the woman's going, okay, did I ask for it?
I don't even know what happened.
Did I get roofied, or did I not, or did I just get drunk, or
right.
all kinds of things.
Right. So it's kind of this there's a lot of guilt, there's a lot of shame. And so it takes a lot to come forward, which is why my immediate reaction is come forward and just say it as soon as you can. But then once that accusation is made, a full investigation needs to take place, and we need to remember that until they are convicted, we need to give them the benefit of the doubt. We can't say she's crazy, she's lying. We have to, look at her as a society and say, okay, we acknowledge what happened, and then let the legal system and all of that take place. in order to really come to a safe conclusion. It's complicated.
I do think I think I'm actually leaning away the way the reporter or whatever did in the show, in that you have to have enough evidence to at least get a crime charged.
Sure.
And I only say that because if you're falsely accusing, the only recourse is to sue you back for defamation or whatever. Which,
yep.
Okay, I'm going to accuse you of defamation. You accuse me of rape. Who's worse off?
Right.
Like, it doesn't matter who's right.
Right.
It doesn't fucking matter at all what the actual legal things come down to. It may become clean that I am completely exonerated of rape, and you are completely, you have absolutely lied about me, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
Because rape sounds way worse. So, and I'm completely too with you that I don't want to do anything. And I think this is the question to ask any man that's ever talking about this too is, let's put your mom in this position, your wife, your girlfriend, your sister. If they're the person in the case that was raped, now how do you feel about it? And
right.
I still would say they got to have at least enough evidence to get some kind of legal something to look at it at least, because throwing that accusation out falsely is so dangerous.
It is. Yeah, it is dangerous, and it's just a very convoluted, complicated subject that I don't know if we're ever going to have the answer to, but that's all I can say is just I think all we can say is urge women to continue to immediately come forward, to reach out to a hospital, reach out to a doctor, and that's kind of the best course of action to begin. So
let's take another quick little 15-second break. We'll come back and we're going to talk about a drug that I really, 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 really want to do.
Hi, I'm Terry Daniel, and I've been a voice actor in Minneapolis for over 2 decades now. How often are you getting compliments on your voice? Now is the time to do something about it. If you're interested in getting into voiceovers, please contact me via my website at universalvoicetalent.com.
Hi again. We're back. Eventually we're going to have this stuff filled with much longer commercial breaks, and it's going to give me time to pay for my drinks. But for now, I have to pay Tim, so hold on one second. There's that for that.
I have to pay Tim, too. Pay Tim. Paying Tim. Okay, but next we're going to talk about, I don't know how to say it, so you're going to have to help me out.
And that's for both. Just put them both on that card.
Oh, thanks.
Well, it's our card. It's your card, too.
Oh, I thought he was buying me
I'm
dinner.
not that generous. What's that?
Yeah, we're
on right now. No, of course not. It's not radio, though. It's podcast. That's how we do it. So
Tim totally wants to be on air.
No, he actually literally asked me recently. That's a buddy of mine. We are going to do a show.
Tim is trying to get in on this.
He's jealous. He's jealous right now that we have microphones in front of us and he doesn't. Have you ever heard of ayahuasca?
Yeah, I have.
Okay, and let's get this out of the way and say anything you want to or don't. But have you done psychedelics, or would you feel free divulging that? Or
I have not done psychedelics. I've not.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm racking my brain.
No, all right.
No, I haven't.
That one time, I think there was some acid in there. No,
I have not done. Are we talking acid, shrooms?
Talking acid, shrooms, DMT, psilocybin, which is shrooms. What else is there? That's about. I mean,
that's it. Kind of for the big one.
Ecstasy has some traits of it, but no, that's not. No, it's not.
Okay.
Okay. So ayahuasca, for those that don't know, is it's a way of getting DMT basically, which and DMT is probably the greatest way to trip ever. Okay. See if I can explain this. We don't have that much time, but DMT, you already have that in your body, first of all. And from the documentaries I've watched and what I've heard about it is, if you've heard of anyone who's had a near-death experience, they see the light, they maybe see loved ones, they'll see beings, they'll have this feeling of euphoria. There's all of these very common things that you hear of everybody that's died, or that's quote-unquote died and come back, that's had near-death experience. What I believe that is that's DMT. That's the release of DMT in your body. And I've watched these documentaries and they discuss what does happen to you when you take DMT. And you have an incredible trip. It's a psychedelic experience. But you are brought into one with the earth and the universe in a way that as someone who has done LSD and mushrooms in my teenage years, I can definitely say that if you take a psychedelic, your ego takes a fucking hit. Like, just by taking, and especially if you do it the right way, and I'm not trying to, I'm bragging about my drug use, but I mean, when we were teenagers, we would take acid, go run around in the woods, and then talk about it for hours and talk about the intellectual experience we had. I mean, it was a deep spiritual, intellectual thing. And ayahuasca, I mean, I've heard Graham Hancock, talk about, I think he was a pothead, like he said he smoked weed all day, every day, all the time, and he used ayahuasca to get off of it. And I've heard other doctors actually talk about it. It's a great way, because again, if you knock down your ego and you put yourself as having real touch with the world and other people and every other being, you kind of lose the whole need to just get fucked up. Like, you don't have this, when you're in touch with the entire world, you almost feel like you're in debt to it a bit.
Sure.
And I think that there's this feeling that every one of us is not getting, and I think that everyone needs to. And I honestly think that there's a reason that psychedelics are illegal, and it's not the same reason that meth is.
Oh no, we're going there.
Well, and I don't want to go drug war necessarily, but it's just that there's a difference between quote unquote recreational drugs and psychedelics, and I think that because they were put together in this blanket policy, that we're all missing out on a part of the spiritual experience that is being a human being, just because of these stupid archaic laws that are antiquated laws, I would say. Because I do believe that we are, as a consciousness, kind of we're rising up, and we're all on our way to a higher moral, just even intellectual consciousness. I really do. I really think that humanity is on its way to that.
Okay.
And I think that we're being stopped and stifled and held down by people that think that things like ayahuasca should be illegal. Okay.
I mean, first of all, that's great. If ayahuasca is, like, you can use it in some places.
That's great.
Awesome.
Appreciate your take.
Higher consciousness, man. Good for you. I'm doing the peace signs right now. No, that's cool. I guess I've just, like, there's been too many times where I don't want to have a bad trip, and if ayahuasca doesn't really make you have a bad trip, and it's, like, fairly safe, there's too much unsafety in this shit sometimes.
And that's where,
like, acid, like, people's brains fucking melt.
You do, and that's where, again, I think that if it were legal, that'd be better. Because if I were
I don't ever want LSD or acid to be legal.
Why not?
Because have you ever met someone who did acid over and over and over again in the 60s?
I did it every month for every weekend for summers.
Well, then you're lucky your brain's still fucking intact. Well, I don't know about that.
Well, how intact is debatable.
But it melts your fucking brain, dude.
Well, I think that, it
is not
if you
safe.
do LSD recreationally, yeah. I mean, if you use it like smoking weed, it's not a drug like that.
That's what people are going to do, because that's what psychedelics do, is it brings you to a different place that you're not here, and it's better than here. And I think, like, ayahuasca, it's cool because you do get to have this, like, eye-opening experience of the world, right? I love that. I love that idea that you kind of figure everything out, right? And that's what people have said in ayahuasca. It's like their whole life is, like, okay now. Yeah. Which I think is really important even for people who, like, really experience, like, deep depression or anxiety or PTSD.
Especially
these psychedelics. But then there's gonna be too many people that abuse it, and that's my problem. I think ayahuasca should be legal in a sense of, like, Native Americans, where you're using it in a controlled environment with someone who is trained to use it, right? Trained to hand it out, to give it out, and you sip it. It's a tea, correct?
Yes. And I think you can smoke it too.
You drink it and you smoke it. Okay.
Or you can smoke DMT. It is maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's situations like that where I think it can be very valuable. It can be very important. Do I think that people should be going around being able to put fucking sugar cubes on their tongue? No, absolutely not. I don't think that LSD should be legal. I think it melts your brain. I think we're too ingrained in this, like, unsafety of it all now. And
see, and I completely agree, or I completely understand where you're coming from, and that's why I don't want to make this about a war on drugs thing. But I think that there are properties of these drugs that we don't give credit to.
And we're not using them. Like, you can use pure MDMA. They're finding to help treat PTSD patients, in controlled environments where it's really helping. And I think you're right. I think there are parts of these drugs that really need to be unleashed and need to be studied more, need to be experimented with more. Is it ready to, like, be released in the open? Everyone go for it? No.
Yeah, see, and that's where we'll agree to disagree. But I think that what I'd really like is at least to be able to go to it under a doctor's supervision.
Sure.
And I pay the money, whatever it is.
Sure.
I want to take DMT, God damn it. Why not? Why can't I?
You can do that with ayahuasca. you can go to New York and you can get it like a shaman to do it with.
Yeah, no, if you do it because of the religious freedom aspect of it. But I don't want it. Doesn't, and that's cool. But it shouldn't have to be that. It shouldn't have to be.
It should.
A religious thing. Why does
It doesn't have to be religious. It just has to be medical or spiritual or religious. One of those two things in the alcohol.
Well, I want to be just medical, and we just said you can't do it just medically.
Yeah, but you're talking about a spiritual part of what's happening here.
True. But I don't separate spiritual and the physical part, especially when it comes to doctors.
Well, there
I
you
think
go.
those are all one thing.
Medicine is your religion. That's your freedom of religion right there.
Oh my God, that's a first. I didn't ever think that'd be my religion. I didn't think that'd be accused of that. But truth is a religion. I can understand that. No, science isn't necessarily truth. I'm fucking with you. All right, well, that was it. We'll do this again tomorrow night. O'Gara's 5 o'clock.
Jim
Souhan. And I'm going to bring this up tomorrow, too. But, Jim gets all the guests. He's got all the greatest guests, and he's getting all these listens because of all these guests that he brings.
Yeah.
But, what, do you need the card again?
Oh, my God.
If the servers around here could do their job.
But we'll be on with Jim, and I think we have to talk sex and technology, or technology and relationships around. So I'm really hoping that Jim Souhan is willing to do that.
I think getting somebody like Jim to talk about that is the best because he's so far removed from it. So it'll be great.
And then he'll never come on again.
And we only need him for the once. We just want your Twitter followers. All right, we'll see you tomorrow, Jim. See you guys tomorrow. O'Gara's. Bye-bye.